the imagination of a new generation.
And for more NASA videos, hit subscribe.
You're looking at the American-made rocket and spacecraft that will return American astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the retirement of the space shuttle, last flown nearly 9 years ago. But if all goes well today, we will mark a new first in NASA's storied history and usher in the commercial crew era of American spaceflight. And we are looking at a live picture now of Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley walking down that hallway in the astronaut crew quarters. We just saw Doug wave at the screen, and they're just turning the corner, getting inside that elevator. And this, you can't see it from here, but there is a banner hanging there. You can kind of see it in the back. There's a banner hanging on the wall of the elevator with the signatures of all the people who worked on this mission. So it was really important for them to hang that up in there so Bob and Doug could see it. And there the doors are opening.
Here they come.
Great. And there they are, NASA astronauts.
Small crowd, but big cheers.
NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, Doug on the left, Bob on the right, waving to the crowd there to cheer them on. And there are their families right in front of them.
The virtual hug's a very special moment. Fist bumps.
Are you going to be on good behavior? Are you going to listen to mommy and make her life easy?
You can hear them.
Ready? Let's light this candle, I agree. Launch America! Bye, guys.
And there it is. That shot really gives you a sense of the scale of the Falcon 9 rocket. Those Teslas look teeny, teeny, tiny, making their way up there.
Yeah, really cool watching the Teslas pull up, driving on the launch pad just a few feet away from the vehicle. This is awesome and getting really excited over here.
Core and Countdown 1 at 2 hours, 57 minutes. The crew has arrived at the pad on schedule.
There they are, taking in the sight, craning to see the top of the Falcon 9 rocket.
Core and Countdown 1 at T-minus 2 hours and 46 minutes. The crew has arrived at the White Room and its ingress is in progress on schedule.
And as they climb into Dragon, they will buckle themselves in and attach their umbilicals to their suits. And as you can see, the suit techs are there to help them get buckled and settled into those seats.
And we can see the seats slowly start to rotate. Again, they're in this down position just to make it easier to climb in and out of Dragon. They'll rotate to this launch position to put their backs a little bit more parallel to the ground. It makes taking the G-force a little bit easier for the crew on the way uphill, but most importantly, positions those touchscreens directly in front of them, which is just their gateway into Dragon.
Dragon, SpaceX, seats are in the launch position.
We copy.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch. SpaceX Dragon. We're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go!
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will be coming down. Looks like we lost that live view, but we'll wait for confirmation of that landing shortly here.
Falcon 9 first stage successfully landed.
And there you can see on your screen, Falcon 9 has landed. This is the first Falcon 9 to carry humans to orbit, so very exciting for us. And as you can see on your right screen, Bob and Doug are still making their way to their targeted orbit.
Dragon separation confirmed. Countdown 1 is unmerged.
Hey, separation confirmed.
And there's that call out. Dragon is now officially making its way to the International Space Station today.
Dragon SpaceX with that separation call. We have a few words for you from our Falcon 9 team.
Standing by.
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to Ground. Bob Doug, on behalf of the entire launch team, thanks for flying with Falcon 9 today. We hope you enjoyed the ride and wish you a great mission.
Thanks, Bala. Congratulations to you and the F9 team for the first human ride for Falcon 9. And it was incredible. Appreciate all the hard work, and thanks for the great ride to space.
Copy all.
Oh, and like, proud of you guys and the rest of the team. Thank you so much for what you've done for us today, putting America back into low Earth orbit from the Florida coast.
Copy all. Good luck. Godspeed.
Without further ado, we would like to welcome you aboard Capsule Endeavour. We chose Endeavour for a few reasons. One, because of this incredible endeavor NASA, SpaceX, and the United States has been on since the end of the shuttle program back in 2011. The other reason we named it Endeavour is a little more personal to Bob and I. We both had our first flights on Shuttle Endeavour
and it just meant so much to us to carry on that name. That's what we decided to go with. So we hope you enjoy that name, and once again, welcome on board. Today we accomplished the first flight off the Florida coast in quite some time, and Doug and I were really proud to have an opportunity to be a part of that. We're doing it in a brand new spaceship, a spaceship that's a lot different than its namesake Endeavour, the space shuttle, in that it has touch display screens that allow us to accomplish most of the interfacing requirements that we have. But we've got the capability to interface with the vehicle, and it's kind of interesting. There's a command. This little button over here is actually what the commands are for our displays. One thing that does get lost is there is a extensive button panel down below as well. So over on this side, we can turn the displays on and off, as well as send some commands for some contingency situations. On the other side, we have the ability to deploy chutes and things like that on entry. So we do have some buttons, but the primary interface is these displays. So nice, new, modern cockpit that we've got for our compared to our namesake, the Space Shuttle Endeavour. And I'm guessing it was the first time a space vehicle was flown with a touchscreen before. So we got that going for us. We did, it turns out, end up with one stowaway on board our vehicle when we launched today. It was not just Doug and I who accomplished the launch here. We do have an Apatosaurus aboard. We both have two boys who are super interested in dinosaurs. And we collected up all the dinosaurs between the two houses, and Trimmer, the Apatosaurus, got the vote from the boys to make the trip into space today with us. And so that was a super cool thing for us to get a chance to do for both of our sons, who I hope are super excited to see their toys floating around with us on board. I'm sure they would rather be here given the opportunity, but hopefully they're proud of this as well.
At this point, Dragon now approaching waypoint 0. At this moment, we're less than a mile away from station. Dragon just under 1,200 meters away, continuing to close the gap. Pretty slow rate right now, moving in at only about 1.7 meters per second.
And here's a view from Dragon. Dragon's got a number of relative navigation sensors, as well as a couple of cameras that can look forward that will hopefully get some additional views as far as we get closer to docking. Here's a great view from a camera behind Bob and Doug. Bob in the right-hand seat in the pilot seat, Doug in the commander seat, or the CDR seat.
There they are. And that's 200 meters from the center line of the space station.
We're inside 100 meters, continuing to close.
I think you can see a meatball and American flag on that on the spacecraft. That structure on the fairing structure is actually what the Super Dracos are housed in. Of course, all of those are deactivated now, only used for launch escape during the ascent portion. Nose cone right at the top of the vehicle, and you can see sort of the ceiling surface. Those four circular slots right underneath the nose cone within that red ring are the forward bulkhead Dracos. That's what we were using while we were conducting all those burns, the 5 burns to get to this point.
That's Dragon on the big loop. Our visors are down.
Visors down. They are.
Copy, visors down.
They're sitting right there, 20 meters from the docking port. One more view.
SpaceX and Station Dragon on the big loop. We are inbound from approach 2.
Copy, inbound.
Mission copy.
Dragon closing in. We're inside 20 meters. And yeah, that crew hands-off point should come up in about 3 minutes or so. Right before we get that final docking, it comes about 20 seconds prior. We're just about 2 meters away from the station still. And that's just the crew not issuing any abort commands. At that point, it would be too late. And so any aborts would be executed automatically by Dragon itself. Two meters. We are inside the hands-off point, the chop, the crew hands-off point, 1 meter to go. Soft capture complete.
Dragon in space. Soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
And we just heard it, soft capture. We have docking, that coming at 7:16 a.m. Pacific time, with the station and Dragon flying 262 statute miles right over the border between northern China and Mongolia.
Dragon SpaceX docking sequence is complete.
SpaceX Dragon, we copy, docking complete. To say that it's been a real honor to be just a small part of this 9-year endeavor since the last time the United States spaceship has docked with the International Space Station. We have to congratulate the men and women of SpaceX at Hawthorne, McGregor, and at Kennedy Space Center. Their incredible efforts over the last several years to make this possible cannot go overstated. I'd also like to thank Kathy Leaders and her team of the Commercial Crew Program of NASA. An outstanding job by everyone. Last, I'd like to thank the men and women of the National Aeronautics and Space Agency. This is an incredible time to be at NASA. 3 new vehicles to be flown, continuing mission in low Earth orbit, and then to the moon and Mars. We thank you again and congratulate you.
Dragon arriving. The crew of Expedition 63 is honored to welcome Dragon and the Commercial Crew Program to welcome aboard the International Space Station. Bob and Doug, glad to have you as part of the crew. Well done. Bravo Zulu.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley. Demo 2 crew now aboard the International Space Station. They entered at 12:22 p.m. Central Time. The station at the time was 262 statute miles over Turkmenistan. Crew all gathered in front of the cameras at the Node 2. Forwarding them is the hatchway to the Crew Dragon on its Demo 2 mission.
Station, this is the NASA administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so proud of everything you have done for our country, and in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and of course NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
First, I just want to say thank you again to Bob and Doug and your families from all of us here at SpaceX, all of our locations, all of our partners, all of our vendors, everyone for trusting us to bring you up there.
Hey, thanks, Benji. Same back at you. You know, congratulations to the folks out at Hawthorne, McGregor, and at Kennedy. Just an incredible journey we've had the last couple days. A great day in space today, our first day of work on space station. But what a great ride on Dragon and Falcon 9 to get us here. everything worked exactly the way we planned it to work, and that's a credit to the teams there in Hawthorne and McGregor and Kennedy. Just it's a pretty awe-inspiring trip so far, and very humbling, and just we're just so proud to represent SpaceX and NASA in this new next launch capability.
You guys have a picture of the Earth, and you have a flag which also represents the friendly competition, maybe, that brings us unity. Why don't you tell us about that there?
Yeah, so this is the flag that we left here almost 9 years ago on STS-135. It had actually flown on STS-1, and then it flew again with us on STS-135. And at some point after the end of the shuttle program, we decided we would have a little friendly competition to see who came up and got this flag. And congratulations, SpaceX, you got the flag. So Bob and I, Chris will not let us forget it. That's the biggest thing, is this will be on his to-do list when we get the nod to return Dragon back to Earth, and hopefully this will find a great place of honor somewhere in Hawthorne.
Everyone at NASDAQ is thrilled that you're able to join us here today virtually as we get set to ring today's opening bell.
Alright, Bob Mini Workstation ERT has a red small.
Yes.
3 short wire ties, 1 long wire tie.
1 long, 1, 2, 3 shorts. Swing arm.
Red small.
Red small to PGT number 7.
PGT number 7, Cal knot motor 30.5. And 7/16 swabbing.
Bob, your helmet is locked. Just check out all your stuff to make sure you're good.
The thermal cover is open. I'm egressing.
We copy.
The 2 spacewalkers will be making their way to the far starboard truss of the International Space Station to replace aging nickel-hydrogen batteries on the first of 2 power channels for the S6 truss with new lithium-ion batteries and their associated adapter plates.
see that thermal cover of the hatch is closed. Still waiting on the opportunity to close the hatch. However, the spacewalk does not end until repressurization begins.
Hold Bob for a second.
PGTs are in the bag. Yeah,
Oh, you already put them in there? Okay. Get the tools off.
First of all, I'm super excited that this is the first payload you're working with on space station, so it makes it super special for me. And you can start. We have the video. We'll be watching.
When you install the sample cartridge, we'd like you to first hand snug bolt Bravo and then do bolt.
Like you to do is like with two hands, you're going to grab the drink bag and try to squeeze it uniformly so that you actually drain it in about 15 seconds.
Keep it going, cool.
Nice. Well done.
an endeavor he's been on too while we wait for the fan. On this day in space history, 9 years ago today, Mr. Doug Hurley launched on STS-135.
Well, welcome aboard to the International Space Station and the crew of Expedition 63. It's an exciting day for us all as we bid farewell to our two friends and colleagues, Bob and Doug, as they complete the journey of this amazing test mission. Before I hand the mic over to Bob and Doug, I do want to make mention of this very special flag. It has deep space history, getting deeper, as this flag will return to Earth with the Crew Dragon guys and spend a little bit of time on Earth and very soon make a trip to the moon in short order. So, Doug, the flag's all yours. It's been a pleasure, and here you go.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for this. This flag has spent some time up here, on the order of 9 years since we dropped it off on STS-135 after it flew on STS-1. So very proud to return this flag home and see what's next for it on its journey to the moon. It's hard to put into words just what it was like to be a part of this expedition, Expedition 63. It'll be kind of a memory that will last a lifetime for me. Just all the incredible teamwork and accomplishments, with the highlights obviously being the 4 spacewalks that we worked together literally as a crew of 5 to have success and to complete that part of the upgrade for the International Space Station, which leaves it in a great posture for the future. As I look back on the mission that we've had here on the International Space Station, I'm proud to have been a part of much of the science activities that happened over the last 2 months. As Doug and Chris mentioned, the spacewalks and robotics activity. Chris and I were able to join the 10 Spacewalk Club, which is a pretty neat thing that, just a few short months ago, I didn't think I would do another spacewalk, and to now have the chance to have done 4 more with Commander Cassidy was just icing on the cake for a wonderful mission. And as I look forward to heading back home for the splashdown, I do think that from a family perspective, my son and Doug's son are really excited not only to get their fathers back, but to get our Apatosaurus, our zero-G indicator that they nominated to go with us on this historic mission to the International Space Station, and bringing that to launch and return capability back to the U.S. And so for Jack and Theo, Tremor the Apatosaurus is headed home soon, and he'll be with your dads. You'll have to pick which one of us is your favorite.
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop. The final reconfigurations for undock are complete and nominal. The ground is go for undocking at the undocking sequence start time of 23:30 GMT. Please confirm your visors are down and that you are ready for undock and departure.
Dragon copies, go for undock on time, our visors are down, and we're ready for departure.
We copy all. Dragon SpaceX, all hooks open and nominal.
All hooks open.
Dragon departing.
Dragon SpaceX, separation confirmed.
Separation
Three burns, physical separation 4:35 p.m. Pacific. Thrusters looking good. Counting down to a nominal departure burn 0 coming up shortly.
Dragon SpaceX, depart burn 0 complete.
Copy complete. Visors up.
And with that, Bob and Doug have concluded their stay aboard the International Space Station. They're on their way back to planet Earth. Confirms a physical separation at 4:35 p.m. Pacific as the station and Dragon were flying 267 statute miles over Johannesburg, South Africa.
Station Endeavour on the big loop.
Go ahead, Endeavour.
Chris, we just can't thank you enough. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of Expedition 63 with you, Anatoly, and Ivan. It's been a great 2 months, and we appreciate all you've done as a crew to help us prove out Dragon on its maiden flight. I'd also like to thank Zeb and his team in Mission Control in Houston for the incredible amount of work they did to make the dock to ops successful for Dragon, and also the teams at SpaceX that keep us going towards the end of our mission that we look forward to splashdown tomorrow. I'd also like to wish you a great success on the rest of your expedition and a safe flight home in the fall. Take care, friend.
Endeavour,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Anatoly. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Houston, and thank you, SpaceX.
Endeavour Station, Bob and Doug wholeheartedly agree with those sentiments. It's been a real pleasure. It's been an honor to serve with you. Safe travels and have a successful landing. Endeavour's a great ship. Godspeed.
Endeavour copies all. Thanks, Chris.
Good morning, Dragon Endeavour. I'm happy you went into space, but I'm even happier that you're coming back home.
I've been trying, Daddy. We love you. We can't wait to see you. Wake up, wake up.
SpaceX, and thank you especially to Jack and to Theo for that wonderful message this morning. Hopefully the pressure's all on whoever's making the weather call, because those boys seem excited to bring us home.
Yeah, we concur. It was great hearing them, and happy to hear you. And lucky for you, weather is looking great at Pensacola. Dragon is also healthy and proceeding towards the primary deorbit opportunity.
We've got some live views inside the Dragon Endeavour capsule. Bob and Doug there in their seats as they are making final preparations and doing final reviews as we get ready to initiate the deorbit sequence. Closest to the camera there is NASA astronaut Doug Hurley, and further away from the camera is NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. These are two incredibly wonderful humans. We affectionately call them our space dads here at SpaceX. It's been such an honor to be able to fly them. Of course, Doug Hurley was actually the pilot of the final space shuttle mission, STS-135, back in 2011. And honestly, when I heard that he was assigned to this mission, I cried because, just to have the opportunity to return the pilot of that final mission to the space station in this capacity is so cool. And I've loved following this mission since the moment that we started training for it here in Hawthorne.
Dragon SpaceX, deorbit sequence start.
Never copy.
There on your screen, we have a shot of the capsule as it is preparing to deploy those initial parachutes, the drogue parachutes. Again, these parachutes help slow the vehicle down even further and help stabilize in preparation for main chute deployment. Right about now, the capsule is going about 400 miles per hour, decelerating quickly.
And standing by for drogue deploys.
Visual, 2 drogues out.
There on your screen, we have visual confirmation of those 2 drogue deployments.
Copy, 2 drogue.
All right, so 2 of 2, the drogues now out. They're going to do their slowing and stabilizing of the Dragon spacecraft. They should be detaching in just a few moments, and then we'll see 4 parachutes, the main parachutes deployed. Dragon under drogues.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
So the expected descent rate, the expected velocity under the drogues nominal, we're right at around 150 miles an hour and already dropping. You can see the drogues now detach.
And there we have confirmation of deployment of the 4 main parachutes.
We are visual on 4 chutes out.
We are visual. 4 main parachutes deployed.
4 main.
So at this point, the main parachutes have deployed. They are inflating, as you can see there on your screen, continuing to slow Dragon down significantly. We are anticipating splashdown in just under 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
And we've already slowed the vehicle down to about 16 miles an hour. It's already less than 1 kilometer in altitude.
Main chute descent rate nominal, passing through 700 meters.
So at this point, Dragon has saved all propulsion systems on
600
board.
meters.
600 meters.
And we're 600 meters above the Gulf of Mexico.
Should be approximately 1:30 from splashdown.
Mission Control team here in Hawthorne has reported the precise landing coordinates to the recovery team. They are standing by, ready to go get our space dads.
100 meters.
Just passed about 300 meters. 1 minute till splashdown.
300 meters. We are braced for splashdown.
Copy, brace for splashdown.
So there we heard Bob and Doug reporting that they are bracing for a splashdown. We should be able to see the Gulf of Mexico here in the shot just momentarily, as we're now just about 20 meters off the ocean.
Splashdown.
As you can see on your screen, we have visual confirmation for splashdown.
SpaceX copies and concurs. We see splashdown and mains cut.
Dragon Endeavour has returned home. NASA astronauts
And Endeavour, on behalf of the SpaceX and NASA teams, welcome back to planet Earth, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
It was truly our honor and privilege to fly in flight of the Crew Dragon and Endeavour. Congrats, everybody at SpaceX. All good, and we're into section of 4.800.
Thanks for those words, Doug, and we copy that you are into 4.800.
So great news all around there. Our space dads are back on Earth after a 19-hour return journey from space. Dragon Endeavour has splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico, just off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. And on your screen there, although the communication was a little choppy, we did hear...
Endeavour in 3.1, we show ourselves in stable 1.
And SpaceX copies for local assessment, step 3.1, stable 1. Good news.
Oh, still getting a view from the WB the airplane flying overhead. It gave us those great views, really our first views of Bob and Doug re-entering the Earth's atmosphere from up above. You can see the 4 parachutes in the water. We heard those were cut automatically, as expected by Dragon. So for now, the crew just standing by. Again, they're going to stay in their suits, in their seats.
Dragon will be hoisted using the hydraulic lift out of the water and into that nest. That nest will then be pulled towards the camera from this view, towards those individuals on that upper deck there.
Dragon SpaceX, brace for capsule lift in about 30 seconds.
We're ready. Thank you.
All right, so the crew was just told in the next 30 seconds, they have the lines affixed, so they're going to start lifting the capsule up out of the water. And at this point, the communication we're getting with Dragon is actually being routed through the boat itself at this point. So there we can see the lift. Dragon is out of the water.
Yeah, so
now
now
that A-frame's going to start swinging it back. And it's bound right for that nest at the bottom of your screen.
And there we can see Dragon Endeavour being carefully set down into the recovery nest on top of Go Navigator.
Dragon SpaceX, welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing final checks and preparing to translate you to the egress platform.
We happy. Thank you.
And we see the hatch is now open. Hatch being opened at 12:59 p.m. Pacific. The hatch is open.
So right now they're going to put a piece of equipment in there that basically smooths out the edges and makes sure that it is a comfortable exit from the Dragon capsule. Just a little piece of structure there to ensure that the hatch will remain open and that any sharp edges around.
Thank you, Bob, for those awesome words. It's absolutely been an honor and a pleasure to work with you from the entire SpaceX team. It's been awesome.
SpaceX Dragon from the commander.
Go for SpaceX.
Mike, I just would like to sort of reiterate what Bob said and add my thanks to everybody over the last several years that's either worked in Hawthorne, McGregor, or down at Kennedy Space Center. Anybody who's touched Endeavour, you should take a moment to just cherish this day, especially given all the things that have happened this year. We certainly can't thank you enough. Our families can't thank you enough. And, just proud to be a small part of this whole effort to get a company of people to and from the space station. They can celebrate with each other, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully in person.
Thanks so much, Doug, and you're welcome, and thank you so much for those kind words. And we all wish you a safe journey home and a happy reunion with your family soon, and we look forward to seeing you in person as well.
Mikey.
Yeah, so Bob Bankin, the pilot, the Joint Operations Commander for this mission, out of the capsule now. So he's making his way over to the medical area, and now they're going to work to get Doug Hurley out next.
I think I saw a smile on Bob's face.
He was a thumbs up all the way. As they've been giving us some regular status updates from inside the capsule, they've been feeling really good. And so now we're just standing by for our spacecraft commander, Doug Hurley, to make his way out into the fresh air for the first time in 64 days. And it looks like we've got him out. We've got some applause here.
And as you can see in Mission Control, a standing ovation for a job well done all around.
Yeah, our crew members, Bob and Doug, are now safely back home on Earth. and they're going to get checked out now by the NASA medical team. They're going straight into the medical quarters on board the ship. That'll be their first stop on planet Earth, and then they're going to be making their way up into a helicopter and then heading back to dry land. So once they're complete, the team's going to prepare Dragon itself, and they're going to begin taking it back to shore.
I think the biggest thing that we would both like to talk about is just to thank, you can see Steve and Kathy here and Elon. You know, this has been quite an odyssey the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 5 years since Bob and I started working on this program. And to be where we are now, the first crewed flight of Dragon is just unbelievable. We've said it before, just a tremendous privilege to be part of this program, to be part of NASA, and to spend 2 months on the International Space Station with one of the greatest officers, crewmates, astronauts, Chris Cassidy. It just was a real pleasure for both of us. And I'm sure Bob will talk about the spacewalks, but just to see those two work out on the International Space Station, you're not going to see anything like that again. It just was, it was just amazing to be part of that. And then, you know, the flight of Dragon on Falcon, and then the reentry today. It's a lot to process. As I said 5 hours ago, we were in a spaceship bobbing around, making prank satellite phone calls to whoever we could get a hold of, which was kind of fun, by the way. You can send him the bill for the sat phone. But anyway, we really appreciate all of you coming to say hi and welcoming us back. It's a little bit overwhelming to see everybody here, considering the things that have gone on the last few months since we've been off planet. But thank you again for coming to say hi, and hopefully we'll be able to share a lot of this mission with you in a few months, hopefully, if not sooner. But thank you again.
Well, first of all, thank you for everybody who came out today. I know with all the challenges, everybody's wearing a mask with the situation that we're in. It's not trivial to get this many people here to try to be close and celebrate what we've accomplished. I think for both Doug and I, the thing that we're most excited about having accomplished with this mission is, you know, it's written right on that sign where it says Launch America, and then, of course, Land America today. As we went through our years as astronauts here at the Johnson Space Center, we got to live through a big chunk of the shuttle era and a big chunk of the assembly of the space station. When the space shuttles retired, when Doug took his final flight to wrap that up, I think it was a sad day for us in the because there's something special about having that capability to launch and bring your own astronauts home. And we went through a lot of years without that capability, and I think we're both super proud to have been just a small part of the team that accomplished bringing those space flights back to the Florida coast and bringing that capability back to America. As Doug mentioned, we had the luxury of having just a super crew on board the International Space Station with Chris Cassidy, with Anatoly and Yvonne. They just took wonderful care of us. I can't think of anything that we could have had more in place and ready for us when we arrived than what Chris set up for us. And so we're extremely thankful for him and his work to make things look easy for us. You know, we didn't have the full training template that was out there. We had an abbreviated flow and got to take advantage of an opportunity, if you will, to try to take care of Space Station as we accomplished this test mission. And so I think we're both really proud of that and happy that it didn't become a distraction. We were able to accomplish the test mission objectives and work through those, kind of get Dragon certified in some sense to be ready for our return home when the time came to do that. And so it all just worked out wonderfully. And so today, when we got the wake-up calls from our boys, telling us a little bit about what they were looking forward to, which was us coming home, and in Theo's case, getting a new dog. it was a wonderful morning, and we very much appreciated it. And so again, I think this kind of comes full circle. Took years to get here. We brought the capability back to America, and we came home safely to our families. And it took a lot of people a lot of time to make that happen. And so to Kathy, thank you for that. Of course, you had Steve as your right-hand man for the most recent history, at least. And we definitely really appreciate the hard work that you all had to go through to ensure that the contractors, in this case the SpaceX team, really could understand NASA and what we needed to be able to have in place to have human spaceflight be safe in the way that we wanted to operate it. And I think for the SpaceX team, we couldn't have asked for a more wonderful team to work with. I think we definitely are old dogs and like some of our old tricks because it's not always because lazy. Sometimes it's because we did it before and we know an easy solution, and we try to share that with folks. And that's really, as we go forward to further activities, whether it's in low Earth orbit, to the moon, or beyond, we need to figure out the best way to share what NASA knows with the contractor team and help them be as successful as possible. And I think maybe we weren't there 5 or 6 years ago, of course, but by the time we launched and certainly by the time we returned, I think there was a very tight-knit relationship between the SpaceX team and our NASA team, and we worked together to accomplish what we accomplished. So with that, I just want to thank you all for coming out today and celebrating this victory with Doug and I, and recognize our small part of what was accomplished. Thank you all.
You're looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft that is in the final stages of preparation to launch the world's first all-private astronaut mission to the International Space Station in just over 3 hours from now. Today's launch marks the next step in the evolution of the human spaceflight story. This is the first of a number of private astronaut missions by Axiom Space to the International Space Station, and it represents the culmination of years of hard work between both government and private entities to open up the doors to low Earth orbit. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be tuning in from around the world. Welcome to the live broadcast of the launch of Axiom Mission 1, often called AX-1. My name is John Rackham, and I'm the Crew Systems Deputy Manager at Axiom Space, based out of Houston, Texas.
My name is Kate Tice. I'm the Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Welcome. Together, we have quite a lot to share with you today about today's historic AX-1 mission. As John mentioned, this represents the first of its kind, as 4 Axiom astronauts will become the first all-private astronaut crew to the International Space Station. This is the first of 4 missions SpaceX will launch for Axiom Space. AX-1 also marks SpaceX's 6th human spaceflight mission overall and our 5th human spaceflight mission to the orbiting laboratory.
Wow. Yeah, today's mission is the culmination of years of efforts by teams at Axiom Space to expand the opportunities of private citizens around the world to partake in meaningful science, research, and STEAM-related activities in low Earth orbit. We believe that the commercial efforts in low Earth orbit should build on the foundation that NASA has laid, while expanding the volume and type of research and manufacturing capabilities for the benefit of all. Missions just like today's open the door for new countries around the world to pursue and participate in the benefits of human spaceflight. And for Axiom Space, each of our private astronaut missions are critical steps in the development of our Axiom Station, the world's first private space station, currently under construction.
Right now, Axiom astronauts Michael Lopez Alegria, Larry Connor, Eitan Stibbe, and Mark Pathy are suiting up inside SpaceX's Falcon Support Building, or FSB, preparing to lift off from historic Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This crew will be spending 8 days living and working on board the space station before returning to Earth and splashing down in the Atlantic Ocean.
Right, and over the course of their 10-day journey, the
3 new names will be added to the list of astronauts who have flown to orbit.
Right, so let's take a look at our crew. The AX-1 mission is commanded by retired NASA astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria, a Spanish-American who was born in Madrid, Spain, and has also called Mission Viejo, California, as well as Boston, Massachusetts, home. Michael is a U.S. Navy captain and has flown 3 times aboard the Space Shuttle and once aboard Soyuz. He has conducted 10 spacewalks in his career, accumulating 67 hours and 40 minutes total in the vacuum of space, both of which are NASA records, and that's amazing. In 2021, he was inducted into the Astronaut Hall of Fame, and known by many as MLA or just LA. If you're a person who loves acronyms, here's a new one for you, as we will refer to Commander of this mission as MLA over the course of our webcast.
Yeah, super qualified for his role as commander. Also super qualified for his role, the pilot for AX-1 is Larry Connor from Dayton, Ohio. Larry is an entrepreneur, nonprofit activist investor. He has won aerobatic flying competitions and summited both Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Rainier. Through AX-1, he will become the first private pilot to reach the ISS. He will also become the first human to reach both the deepest ocean depths and enter the bounds of outer space within 1 year. Larry has been actively involved with the Mayo All right, so just some good news.
Today's mission is a return to flight for the nation of Israel after the Columbia tragedy in 2003. Eitan served for more than 4 decades as a fighter pilot in the Israeli Air Force, where he received the Distinguished Aviator Medal, and today he is an impact investor and philanthropist. In collaboration with the Ramon Foundation, the Israel Space Agency, and the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Education, Stibbe will fly to the ISS under the Rakia banner and the maxim, "There is no dream beyond reach." During his time on the ISS, Stibbe will facilitate scientific experiments, educational outreach, and even artistic activities.
Mark Pathy is an entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist, as well as mission specialist number 2 on this AX-1 mission. Pathy is currently the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Montreal-based Maverick, a privately owned investment and financing company he founded that focuses on innovation and social impact. As a strong believer in the importance of philanthropy, Pathy is a member of the boards and executive committees of the Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation, Dans LaRue, and the Pathy Family Foundation. Through the AX-1 mission, Pathy will become Canada's second private astronaut and the 12th Canadian to go to space.
So as the crew finishes suiting up inside the Falcon support building, we are moments away from seeing them walk out the same doors that the Inspiration 4 crew inaugurated on their mission. But before they do, it's worth noting that today's mission holds a lot of excitement for groups around the world. So first up, cheering on mission specialist Mark Pathy are the many doctors and family of the Montreal Children's Hospital.
And from Dayton, Ohio, the students of Dayton Early College Academy are following the journey of pilot Larry Connor.
Seeing those kids get excited. And then all the way across the Atlantic from our partners in Madrid, Spain, teams at Motor and Sport Institute are gathering together to celebrate the launch of Commander MLA's 5th flight to space.
And continuing east, our good friends in Tel Aviv's Rakia Mission Control are actively engaged, monitoring the mission and cheering on Eitan Stiba.
Yeah, Kate, to me, this is what really sets this mission apart. This is what humanizes this mission, seeing everybody that this crew's got to interact with and everything this means to these people here on Earth. It really shows that, this is how the dots are connected between what's going on up there and what's going on down here.
Hearing about the kinds of research and outreach that each member has chosen to focus on was particularly interesting to me. They don't have a lot of time up there at all. So to focus on aspects like art really gives, on such a large scale, is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, as you can imagine, it's been a pretty busy morning already for the Axiom 1 crew. They had a wake-up call at about T-minus 8 hours and 40 minutes to launch, followed by their first medical checks of the day, and then a shared meal with their families. At around T-minus 4 hours and 21 minutes, crew was formally handed off to SpaceX at the shuttle landing facility parking lot.
At T-minus 3 hours and 50 minutes, the crew arrived at the suit-up room located in the Falcon support building, which is just basically right behind this camera view that you see there. Also around then, they had their pre-launch briefing, including weather information, launch details, and we gave them their tablets that they get to bring with them onto flight, which brings us to the current efforts. At T-minus 3 hours and 25 minutes, we will, the crew began suiting up, and once that process is complete, they will exit the Falcon support building and get into their Teslas. We will have 2 astronauts in each of the Teslas, led by a support vehicle. It's a short drive up to the launch pad, and once they arrive, the crew will ascend the fixed service structure that you see there in an elevator up to the 255-foot level. The crew will then take the stairs up the last 10 feet, where they will stop and make one final phone call before walking down the crew access arm to the White Room. The White Room is their last stop before climbing into the spacecraft, a process known as crew ingress. During ingress, the SpaceX team will run a series of checks to ensure the suits, seats, and vehicle interactions are all functioning properly.
Right, and after all the vehicle and crew checkouts are completed, the SpaceX closeout team will then close Dragon's side hatch and depart the pad. At about T-minus 40 minutes from launch, the crew access arm will then retract away, followed by the arming of the launch escape system. And once that arm is retracted and the escape system is armed, propellant loading on Falcon 9 will begin. At T-minus 5 minutes from launch, Dragon will be configured for what we call terminal count, and this is when Dragon's onboard computers take control of the spacecraft.
And finally, at T0, Dragon and Falcon 9 will lift off from pads 39A. Roughly 12 minutes after liftoff, Dragon will separate from Falcon 9's second stage and spend the next 24 hours making its way to the International Space Station.
Good morning. I'm John Innsbrucker, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer here at SpaceX. We're currently at T-minus 3 hours, 12 minutes, and everything looks good for an on-time launch later today. Now, as Kate mentioned, the crew received their weather briefing just after T-minus 4 hours. As you can see from the view here, blue skies around Kennedy Space Center, pad 39A. Probability of weather violations is down to just 10%. Mostly we're just looking at some wind. We've also checked the ascent corridor in case of a launch escape is needed by Dragon. The sea state conditions are acceptable there. And even in the emergency deorbit locations, everything is acceptable. So the weather's looking good. Now at pad 39A, the Falcon 9 is powered up. The engine checkouts were performed overnight, and pressurization of the gas storage tanks on the vehicle is completed about T-minus 6 hours. Now, at T-minus 2 hours, Falcon will begin its final checks for launch, including a communication check with the crew, and propellant loading will begin at T-minus 35 minutes. Now, as with all of our launches to the International Space Station, we have an instantaneous launch window at 11:17 a.m. Eastern, or 15 hours, 17 minutes Universal Time. If for whatever reason we weren't able to launch today, our next opportunity will be just under 24 hours later on the 9th of April.
That puts us 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
Thanks, John. So we are just under 3 hours and almost 10 minutes before crew is expected until launch, and we're expecting the crew to walk out in just a few minutes from the Falcon Support Building. John, as we wait for that, let's talk about any new traditions or celebrations for Axiom leading up to launch.
Yeah, of course. So as you know, and as you can imagine, this has been a pretty big milestone that many at Axiom Space have been working towards for years. So we wanted to find a moment to highlight all that effort and mark a new phase of this journey that we're on together. So about 2 weeks ago, the Axiom family gathered together along with a crew and created a new tradition. And to mark the end of preparation of training phases and signify the first steps towards the operations phases, we held a first step to space ceremony at Axiom headquarters in Houston. Here's a quick highlight of that moment.
We're really excited to welcome you for the first ever crew send-off.
Are you all excited to be here? We really are excited. I am thrilled. Today is a moment of celebration.
You come work each day because you're doing something that makes a difference in the history of humanity. That's what you're all about. You're making a giant impact to human spaceflight.
This company is about to change the way the world thinks of human spaceflight. And you guys cannot imagine the impact that all of you are having really on history.
It's ultimately the people at the front lines who make the difference. Do not underestimate your impact or your value.
Thank you really for the warm welcome coming from the other side of the world. I think this is a positive vibe, and hopefully that everyone will enjoy this effort.
It was really amazing how everybody stepped up. It's really about changing the world and about making the world a better place.
It's the beginning. We're about to have our missions, we're going to have our space station, and this is the beginning. And if that doesn't give you a little bit of chills, then you're probably in the wrong job.
Go AX1!
So around that same time, we scanned the bottom of the right shoe of each of the crew's flight suit and created what we're calling the Stepping to Space tradition. The crew will sign this finished plaque once they return from their mission. So you can see there, that's the plaque with their shoes imprinted, and it's been milled out. It's got the mission patch on it. Crew's going to sign that when they come back.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, so we're in Hawthorne, California, kind of close to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that kind of reminds me of the area in front of the Chinese theater where movie stars get to put their handprints and footprints in.
I like that one better.
Yeah.
That one's pretty cool.
It's pretty
a
cool.
space one.
Exactly. It's a pretty unique space one. A little cleaner maybe too.
That's super cool. So we're hearing that we're just a couple minutes away from being able to see the crew for the first time today. They are currently suiting up inside the Falcon Support Building, or FSB. That's basically the hangar close by to the launch pad, and the team is in there with the closeout team. Excuse me, not the closeout team. The suit.
Countdown. We're at T-minus 3 hours 7 minutes. Crew suit donning is complete.
All right.
We are ahead of schedule.
Even better news.
Yeah.
Ahead of schedule. Now you might hear check-ins with the team indicating what kind of margin that we have with our countdown, basically, and proceeding up to launch. We do build in margin so that if we are running a little bit behind or a little bit ahead, it's all good, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of those calls that you hear, those are clear steps in a procedure. As you can imagine, this day is very heavily synchronized. Everybody's got a job to do, and we follow procedures. So hearing those call outs really means we're on the right track. People are paying attention to the right things, and we're on a good, successful path.
Yeah, ultimately the countdown is the thing that aligns all the teams that are working together for liftoff. And there's folks that are in mission control, but then there's lots of people behind the scenes as well. And that countdown is what aligns everybody to the right step in the process. So yeah, we just heard there that the crew has completed the suit up process, and so we are hoping to get our first look at them today as they exit the Falcon Support Building.
All right.
And we're hearing that they are close to exiting the building.
Right.
Not quite there yet. For those of you that have joined us recently, we are awaiting the crew to exit the Falcon Support Building. We are expecting to see the crew exit any moment. They will get into a couple of Teslas that will take them up to the pad. In addition to the crew, we will also have the flight surgeon and closeout leads riding along in the Teslas along with our astronauts.
And you mentioned, Kate, riding the Teslas to the launch pad. It's a bit of a decent walk, I think, if they had to walk to the pad. But
we're on countdown.
And there they are. We're getting our first look at the Axiom 1 crew as they exit the suit-up room. We can see there Michael Lopez Alegria, Larry Connor, Eitan Stiba, and Mark Pathy.
This is our first live look at the Axiom 1 crew suited up for their mission to the International Space Station.
You can see them there getting a few photos together. They look ready.
What do you think they're saying? 3, 2, 1.
That's perfect.
What?
I think they're saying, guys, we have worked so hard to get to this point, and let's go do this.
Yeah. That's great. So now they're going to hop into those Teslas. It's about a 2,000-foot drive, or walk if you wanted to. Yeah. But, we want to keep everybody cool and comfortable before hopping into their spaceship. So we're going to drive.
Closed, and they are ready to get to the pad.
Right now, the team inside the Tesla is just doing final checks with the crew, make sure everybody is good to go, and depart for the tower.
And for their own comfort, Kate, they have umbilicals in the Tesla that connect to them, so it keeps them cool and keeps powered on.
Yeah, we actually have vessels inside the Teslas themselves that pump out nitrox, or nitrogen, oxygen, air. We know it's the same stuff that...
out to their rocket. We thought it fitting to hear a few of those from across the Axiom family wishing them well.
Space exploration has always been about inspiring others, and this AX-1 mission is bringing about a new type of inspiration for the world.
Congratulations, guys. I'm very excited to work with you to complete your science experiments and your educational outreach when you get on board ISS. Godspeed, and go AX-1 crew.
We know you guys are prepared, and we'll be supporting you here from Mission Control in Houston.
Launch day is finally here. Your cargo is packed and ready, and we can't wait to see you on orbit. Go AX-1.
I just wanted to wish you all luck and reiterate how inspiring this mission is for me and many people here on Earth.
The prop team at Axiom Space would like to wish the AX-1 crew safe travels to and from the ISS. Fly safe, and we'll see you on orbit.
I just want to wish you guys a safe, smooth ride up there. And on behalf of the Axiom operations leads, we're looking forward to supporting you guys when you get on board. Hope you have a good stay.
We are so excited about our first launch, and congratulations to the crew of AX-1 on making history.
Thanks for the payloads team. We're really proud of the science that you guys will be doing on this mission and look forward to hearing all about it once you get back here on Earth.
Thank you guys so much for letting us pioneer and improve upon the commercialization of space. We wish you the best of luck on your journey.
We are absolutely thrilled to have worked with you in building AX-1. We're so grateful that you are doing this first for us, and we cannot wait for you to come home safely.
We are so pleased to be involved with this historic moment that y'all are about to journey, and we are wishing you safe travels, infinity and beyond.
As you're taking the next step in the evolution of the space industry. So I want you guys to be proud of that, embrace it, and Godspeed.
The Wright brothers once said that the desire to fly has been handed down from our ancestors, looking up enviously at the birds soaring through space. And I just want to say it's now your time to be the envy of the birds as you soar higher and further than most of us could ever dare.
Good luck and Godspeed, AX-1.
So awesome to see well wishes from the Axiom teams.
Core on Countdown 1. We're at T-minus 2 hours, 59 minutes. Crew have arrived at the pad. We are ahead of schedule.
All right, that was a commentary from SpaceX Core or Crew Operations and Resources Engineer Arthur Berrialt, indicating that the crew has arrived, which, as you can see just there momentarily ago, exiting the Teslas. This is their first opportunity to get an up-close look at their ride to space today. It's worth noting that we did perform a dry dress rehearsal on Wednesday. Was that? Yeah, I guess Wednesday. And so we, just like we're doing today, we walked through all the steps. They've seen the rocket up close before, but not on launch day.
And not quite like this. I think it's a completely different feeling. When you're walking out of that FSB for the first time on launch day, right? You do the rehearsal, but today's completely different, right? You can see them there enjoying it. They are ready to go. That looks like Eitan there giving a good dance.
You can just feel his excitement through the camera lens.
Exactly. Well, I think it really highlights the fact that this really is a return to flight for Israel, and the amount of work that each of these crew members have done to prepare for this mission has been outstanding. We mentioned earlier the training and choreography that leads up to a launch, and this crew has really gone above and beyond in their training to prep for this mission. 700 to 1,000 hours of training. They really set that bar high for what this mission means to them and how they want to give back to the mission. And so I think it's more than fitting here to have a little bit of time to look back and enjoy it and say, we are ready. We are ready to get up there, and we are ready to go to the ISS, and we're ready to participate.
So with that view there, you can actually see the elevator doors that they're about to hop into. They'll get in those elevators, which I should note, we are launching from pad 39A. This is the pad that humanity went to the moon from. Apollo 11 launched from here, and the space shuttle then flew out of this pad after the Saturn V program ended. And we just saw MLA and Mark. That's great. And so when SpaceX took over the lease for this launch pad in 2014, we did make some safety improvements and general refurbishments to the tower. So we did remove the rotating service structure, but what we see here, this is still the fixed service structure that existed in the shuttle program. So these elevators that this crew is getting into, MLA got in these elevators
Yeah.
when he flew shuttle.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. Now they're going to take these elevators up to the 255-foot level. In the tower, we don't mark it by level numbers. And there we can see that they have exited the elevator.
Right, we see Mark Pathy there walking up the rest of the service structure. Well, it looked like MLA had taken a little bit of a glance out of the tower there, looking back down.
He's allowed.
He's allowed. He's got a bit of pedigree there. But just taking a look at where he's at, and here we're going to see Larry Connor and Eitan Stibba riding up in the other elevator.
Yeah, so they're going to go up to the 255-foot level. And then right there, we can see them ascending the final 10 feet up to the 265-foot level via a staircase. Now here they have an opportunity to use the telephone that is placed there. Same deal as with previous spaceflight missions of history. You get one last chance to call anyone. It's been noted that obviously we're broadcasting this live. We're saying there's a telephone, but back in the old days, astronauts used to love to not tell people that they could get a phone call before they got into their launch vehicle.
And then we see Eitan and Larry emerging from the elevator and making their way over to the telephone as well. And Kate, I'm seeing that advanced team, following them around. Everybody's got numbers marked down. It looks like everybody here has a very specific role to play in the, the pad walk up and all the way through crew ingress, right?
For sure. Everyone is in bunny suits. We want to make sure that the spacecraft itself is a clean environment. We are launching from Florida. There's bugs. There's no way to avoid them, from an atmospheric standpoint. So we really want to make sure that we block off any opportunity for FOD, foreign object debris, which could be a bug, could be a hair, could be anything that's not meant to be in the vehicle. And so you can actually see it in the right-hand corner. There's a small window, a rectangle, and that's basically a protective flap that blocks the open environment air from the crew access arm and therefore into the white room and into the capsule. So really making sure that environment is clean. That's why these our closeout leads and our suit technicians are in those bunny suits that you see there with numbers on the back. It's hard to tell people apart, so you are assigned a number. So we try to do our best here to make sure that everything that we don't want to go into, ultimately to go up to the space station, it stays out.
Right. And again, that's just one small part of the controls that are in place to really make sure that, launch day is successful. And another part of that is understanding the role that everybody plays. It's all part of the training that leads to this moment. As I'm sitting there watching it as well, I'm noticing the arrows marked on the ground, representing emergency egress paths and things like that. So saw a great moment there between Larry and Eitan. You can tell they're just excited about it.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, a lot of training has gone into what we're seeing today. That includes preparation for all scenarios. Those arrows on the floor basically indicate the quickest path to safety in the event that the teams need to exit the tower rapidly. So everything is, we try to think of everything, all scenarios. Right. Preparation is ultimately the key to success. So there you see a view of that 265-foot level connected by the crew access arm over to the capsule. Now, we do see folks milling about. One thing to note, we did have part of the SpaceX crew actually here at the pad prior to the arrival of the crew. They're called the advanced team. That's a small group of people that are basically responsible for preparing the cabin prior to the crew's arrival. They show up, they open the side hatch, they make sure that the cabin lights are on, they make sure that the task lights above each seat are functional and working, making sure that the displays are configured for crew ingress, initial comm checks, and you mentioned before, we've practiced everything. Everything is it's a choreograph.
Yeah.
That advanced team, it's so well choreographed. That advanced team in their procedures even have written, make sure there's a Sharpie.
Really?
Yeah. So we're going to see the crew have the opportunity to add their signature to the white room, and it's actually in our procedures. Make sure that there's a Sharpie for the crew to sign the wall.
I love that.
Looks like one of our crew members is making that call. We think it's It's hard to tell.
You know, I saw earlier Aton leaning over the balcony, I think just taking everything in.
What a beautiful day. Looks like that might be Larry Connor on the phone.
And we see Mark and MLA there as well, talking to their crew team, or to their suit teams as well, and that advanced team that Kate was talking about. And
yeah, so you might notice the closeout lead there in the black bunny suit on the right-hand side has a tablet. That tablet is basically what we use to go by step those electronic procedures that we have written. And as you see people stop and pause, and you might see the crew members give a thumbs up, that's all part of the procedure.
right, and we get our first look here now as crew is walking towards the White Room, getting ready for ingress into their Dragon capsule. We see MLA and Mark right there walking towards their capsule right now. They'll be ingressing first, and soon we should be able to get a good shot here as crew waits ingress.
As Mark and MLA make their way.
Countdown. We're at T-minus 2 hours, 50 minutes. Crew have arrived at the White Room to prepare for ingress.
Now that MLA and Mark have arrived, as we just heard, down at the White Room, we can see Larry and Aton making their call, removing the gloves here to take that Sharpie and add their names.
Exactly.
So this is an opportunity for all astronauts that depart from Pad 39A on a Falcon 9 vehicle to add their signature to this room. You can see there at the left the NASA meatball with all of the NASA astronauts that have made this journey prior.
Yeah, and signing that wall is such a huge step, you know, for any crew, I think, that gets to participate, but particularly, you know, this is the first set of signatures of many for Axiom crew, and we're really looking forward to seeing a lot more signatures on that wall.
After the signatures, the closeout leads there, the suit technicians, are basically, right now, we can see them doing a pre-ingress. You can see the next two are making their way down the crew access arm. Yeah, that closeout lead there is doing the pre-ingress checks, making sure that all the zippers are closed, making sure that the boot covers have been removed from their boots, removing the protective cap that's on top of the umbilical port. If it were raining, obviously it's a beautiful day in Florida.
Yeah.
And if it were raining, this would also be the opportunity that we would wipe the boots down before anybody enters. They're also just reminding the crew to be extremely careful when ingressing. There is, we want to make sure that, you know, there's no contact between the side of the vehicle and their helmet, for example.
Right.
So just making sure that everyone, and again, we've practiced this many times, as you've mentioned. The crew has logged 700 to 1,000 hours. That involves practicing getting in and out of the capsule.
Yeah, but like you said, this is a really controlled environment, right? This is really, when you button that hatch up, that is ready to go to ISS. And that controlled environment you got to take care of and make sure that you're, you know, it's a crowded room in there, as we can see right behind Larry and Aton as they're awaiting their ingress trans as well. But it's busy in there, and we got to make sure that, you know, you're watching out for things like hatch seals and making sure that all of their flight suits are well taken care of and well maintained as they get into the vehicle. But like you said, Kate, it's a well rehearsed, well choreographed situation.
So it looks like the closeout leads are performing that pre-ingress check. Now there's already a closeout lead or a suit technician inside the capsule. They're ready to support the crew members as they make their way into their chairs.
And first up for ingress will be Commander MLA, or Michael Lopez Alegria. You see Mark there getting a a pat on the back as well, saying, hey, man, congratulations, let's make this happen.
So basically, they get in their seats. Obviously, got to buckle up. Looks like Mark Pathy is now in his seat. So that suit technician will help them. It's more than just a seatbelt like you and I are accustomed to in a car. It's actually a 5-point safety harness. So they'll do an initial buckling in, they don't tighten it completely. They want people to still be comfortable.
Right.
They're going to be sitting in the capsule for a little while.
Yeah.
We're just under 3 hours until liftoff. So they're going to get in, tighten that safety harness, make sure that the footrest and everything is comfortable for the crew.
Right. Well, and one thing we didn't get to see earlier with the flight suit-up room, but they, as they're sitting in and getting suited up, they are allowed to kind of sit back in some chairs to kind of see how do these chairs feel. And I think you told me something interesting about the seats on these Dragon spacecraft, right? They're kind of customized a little bit for.
Absolutely. So while they're not custom molded, they are custom sized. So you can think of it as like small, medium, and large in terms of the size of the bucket that they sit in. So essentially the length of the seat from spine to head. Everybody's different, and we want to make sure that during dynamic operations such as liftoff and re-entry, that the body is ergonomically supported. And so things like that bucket seat, small, medium, and large sized, as well as the armrest and the footrests are all sized as well. Yeah. Because everybody's different.
Right. And crew, it's important for them to be not only as comfortable as they need to be, but also for effective use inside the capsule during their journey. Everybody's got a different role to play on the uphill, and I think one of the things that is an important check as crew gets into their seat is not only are they harnessed in correctly, that the umbilicals are connecting correctly, but also that they're comfortable.
Yeah.
That they have movement and range to, interface with the displays and everything else expected of their roles while in orbit.
Absolutely. Looks like we're just here getting final goodbyes from Eitan Stibba.
I love seeing that.
As you can tell, the SpaceX team and the Axiom team are really close. We've been working together for this day for months, and as we've said a couple of times, everything is really well rehearsed. They've practiced this.
Right.
And the bonds that are formed between crew members and the support crew, obviously, as we just saw, are really tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it takes a huge team of dedicated, hardworking people to get a mission off the ground. And that's one of the things about these initial private astronaut missions is that's what we're trying to learn. That's what we're trying to work towards together, understanding all the collaboration, all the cooperation needs to happen on and off the ground in order to get these missions off the ground and be successful. So over the shoulder there, we can see MLA. I find it interesting, Kate. It looks like you've got 2 stickers on the inside of the Dragon capsule.
Yes.
Just over the head of MLA there.
So this capsule has flown twice before. It previously supported the Crew 2 mission, and before that, it flew on our Demo 2 mission, which, for those that might be unfamiliar, that was SpaceX's first human spaceflight mission, where we carried NASA astronauts, Bob and Doug, or as we like to call them here at SpaceX, our space dads. We took them to the International Space Station, and it was the first time that NASA astronauts departed for space from American soil since the retirement of the space shuttle program. So I love this capsule. I've been inside of it. In my previous role, I was in the production organization, and so I was in this capsule when we were building it, and it's very near and dear to my heart. So I love being able to see it reused for further missions.
I mean, that's a reason that the future of spaceflight, being commercial and private, you have to have that type of reusability, right? And I think seeing those 2 patches on there really is a testament to the success and the importance of reusability, but also, showcasing the pedigree of this vehicle. It's been put through its paces. It's been tried out. Crew loves flying it, from what I understand. And so it's really nice to see that that's indicated with those mission patches on it. It's a nice little shout out.
Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, all 4 crew members have ingressed the vehicle. They are in their seats. And the suit techs, the closeout team on the SpaceX side, are doing final checks and making sure that everybody is buckled in properly, making sure that, ultimately that the crew is good, doing final FOD, or not final, but doing FOD checks, foreign object debris is what I mean when I say FOD. Just making sure that everything is comfortable prior to doing seat rotation and comm checks.
Right. And one of the other things about seeing those mission patches, like I really find mission patches interesting. I think they're a really important shout out to what is the heart of this mission, right? And so, going into that a little bit, that insignia plays an important role, right, in capturing the soul of a mission. So let's go and take a closer look at the AX-1 mission patch itself. So, representing the heart of this mission is the ISS itself, with the solar array wings prominently displayed as each crew member's national flag, and signifying the key message of this particular mission: international cooperation and collaboration. Behind the ISS, you can see a cascading plane of blue, representing Earth's atmosphere and highlighting the journey humanity has taken to get to this new chapter. Above the ISS, 4 bright stars, anchored by an atom in the center, create a constellation marking the mission's scientific and aspirational objectives. And then finally, the golden border around the patch represents the significance of this mission to the people of Israel, inspired by the logo of the Rakia banner.
So there we can see Commander MLA accessing his crew tablet, where he is able to monitor mission status and follow along with our procedures. Amazing view of pad 39A with 39B in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what a gorgeous day in Florida.
Yeah, it's looking like a perfect launch day. It's really highlighting the fact that everybody's got a role to play here, and it doesn't stop. Once you get on orbit, they're going to keep on going.
For sure. Yeah, just like on orbit, everything is scheduled, choreographed, same thing on the ground. The procedures that we're following today, as we've said before, we've rehearsed this a couple of times, whether live on the pad or in simulations at various training centers. So while it is the first time that we can say it's launch day. It is not the first time that they've been in these suits. It's not the first time that they've been in these seats. Everything is well planned. No surprises. That's the goal.
Yeah.
It takes off.
Yeah. Well, based on some of the reactions from crew we've been seeing earlier, right? Seeing a lot of Larry's excitement early in the day. Even as they're buttoned in, comm checks would be complete at a certain point, and you're waiting. I don't think the excitement's going to be dying down.
So in that shot on the left, you can actually see the Falcon support building just behind the hangar. So that kind of gives you perspective of how far the crew journeyed in their suits in those Teslas.
Right, definitely a walk you can make, but if you're going to be in that suit all day long, it may not be one you want to...
Yeah, I've made that walk many times, and not in a spacesuit, but can confirm it's a little bit of a hike. The incline up to the pad, it catches up with you.
Yeah.
I just love this view of pad 39A. That part to the right of the structure, it looks like a pole that's connected. That is where the rotating service structure was attached to the fixed service structure back in the shuttle days. So, it's just so cool to see the next era of human spaceflight being ushered into reality from this hollowed ground.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now the crew is checking in on their tablets and doing final checks with the closeout leads, which are the SpaceX team members that you can see there. Once again, making sure that the 5-point safety harness is secure, making sure that everybody's boots are able to be buckled into place there on the footrests, making sure that everybody's zippers are closed into the correct position. Right now, they don't have to have their visors down, so they're still able to, talk and converse comfortably. But we do have their umbilical cords plugged in to the capsule, so that umbilical provides communication and avionics and that kind of stuff to the crew. But it also provides that cool air, that nitrox mixture that we talked about before. Which is same stuff that scuba divers use in their tanks to breathe underwater, but it just that cool air flowing through the suit. Because I don't know about you, but if I were sitting in that chair, I would be sweating bullets of excitement, just ready to go.
Yeah, I know I certainly would be too, and I'm glad to hear that you have the features ready there to keep crew comfortable while they're waiting. But that also serves another purpose, right? You get to later when you do your comm checks and you keep your cooling, but it's also the umbilical further uphill.
For sure. Great shot there of our Axiom 1 crew getting ready for comm checks and seat rotation. I just love seeing these 4 guys interact with each other.
Yeah.
As we said before, you can see that the bond between the SpaceX team and the Axiom team is really close, but the bond between them is also, and they just seem like such a fun group. I love seeing Aton dancing earlier before while he was looking at the rocket from the ground.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not bond with the kind of training that they've gone through, right? And what this mission means to each of them, right? It carries a lot of weight for each crew member. We heard a bit about Aton's story in particular, but they've really come to bond over the course of their training.
Yeah, so the top part of what we see there, that is the pressurized section of Dragon. That's where our crew is seated. The bottom portion that's half black, half white, that's the Dragon trunk. That is the unpressurized section. The black side is actually the solar panels that are utilized to deliver power to the capsule while on orbit and on station. That trunk will go up to the space station, but then in 10 days when the crew departs the space station, we will actually jettison the trunk prior to splashdown, and that allows for the heat shield.
SpaceX, Crew Dragon Endeavour here. We're ready for contract.
All right, so that was the voice of Commander MLA.
Yeah, looks like we're ready for comm checks.
Copy Dragon, good morning. Stand by for umbilical comm checks.
On the right-hand side of your screen, that is SpaceX Crew Operations and Resources Engineer, or CORE, Arthur Berrialt, seated here at Hawthorne Mission Control.
CDR, PLT, MS1, MS...
CDR has you loud and clear.
PLT, loud and clear. MS1, loud and clear.
MS2, loud and clear.
And Core, loud and clear. Umbilical comm check is now complete. Stand by for ground station comm check. Dragon, SpaceX, ComCheck.
SpaceX Endeavour, loud and clear on the ground station.
Core, loud and clear. Ground station ComCheck is complete. Stand by for TDRS ComCheck. Dragon, SpaceX, ComCheck.
SpaceX Endeavour, loud and clear on TDRS.
And Core, loud and clear. TDRS ComCheck is complete. Stand by for ComChecks with MD and LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, SpaceX. On countdown 1, ComCheck.
Good morning, Anna. I hear you loud and clear.
Good morning. I hear you live for ComCheck over Dragon to ground. Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground, ComCheck.
Loud and clear on Dragon to ground also. Good morning.
MD, loud and clear. Stand by for ComChecks with LD.
Dragon LD on countdown 1, ComCheck.
Hey, Lauren, good to be with you this morning. You're loud and clear.
Hey, good morning to you too, Michael. I have you loud and clear. Stand by for ComCheck over Dragon to ground. Dragon LD on Dragon to ground, ComCheck.
LD, Endeavour, you're still loud and clear.
And LD, loud and clear. Godspeed today, fellas. Let's go have some fun.
Indeed.
Endeavour, SpaceX. Launch configuration ComChecks are now complete. Please report when ready for seat rotation per section 2 of 4.100.
Roger, stand by. SpaceX Endeavour, we're ready for seat rotation.
Just over T-minus 2 hours, 23 minutes to launch. Everything continued to go well. View right now showing the Axiom crew inside the spacecraft. About another minute or so, we ought to begin the seat rotation.
Dragon, SpaceX, we are ready to initiate seat rotation.
Crew is ready. Side of the capsule, they'll watch as we rotate the crews into the launch position.
Initiating seat rotation.
Nice view watching the seats rotate. The crew displays above them, so get them positioned for launch. A little bit more comfortable recline as we head on out into low Earth orbit.
Dragon SpaceX seats are in the launch position. Thanks, Doctor.
Okay, that's what we like to hear. Seats are in the launch position. We're just over 2 hours, 21 minutes away from the launch of Axiom 1. And as you can see, the 4-person crew is in the Dragon spacecraft. They've just completed their communications checks with the ground team. Those checks verified that the communication umbilical is...
Dragon SpaceX. With that, I can give you a go to step through Section 3, suit leak check preparation. Put that in work.
Okay, we've heard the crew given the go-ahead to do a quick suit leak check. You can see them closing the visors. They'll do a short, just a few-minute check to make sure the suit integrity is good. While they're doing that, a little bit of a recap. We did hear the communications checks about 5 minutes ago. Went through 3 different paths. The umbilical that's hooked up to the Dragon spacecraft, that separates right at liftoff. Comms were good there to the ground team. We also did communications checks through the radio frequency transmitters, as well as the NASA tracking and data relay satellite that's up in geosynchronous orbit. So all the comm checks were good. Meanwhile, back in Mission Control, we heard the Dragon team also doing the comm checks. Mission Control Center is located here in SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Meanwhile, out at Kennedy Space Center,
Complete, ready for leak checks.
sounds like we've got good suit leak checks. As I said at Kennedy Space Center, we've got the Falcon and Dragon launch teams. They're in firing room 4. Got a great view of the pad on a good weather day.
Copy, Dragon. With that, give you a go for Section 4 suit leak checks.
So we can see there our crew members checking in on their tablets, monitoring the step of the procedure that we're currently working through. Right now, the closeout team there at the capsule are performing final interior inspections, basically making sure that everything in the cabin is stowed, making sure that, of course, the crew members are all buckled in safely and is in the final flight configuration during their mission. So final interior inspections. After that, the team will perform a visual inspection of the hatch in preparation for hatch closure. So we're continuing to make our way towards T0 at just over almost 2 hours and 10 minutes from now. We're now under 2 hours and 10 minutes. So, or 2 hours and 10 minutes. So. Everything continuing to track nominally in preparation. Everything continuing to track nominally in preparation for our instantaneous liftoff moment.
Yep.
We can see there, once again, the tablets that they have allow the crew to monitor the procedures that we're working off of, and the touch screens, the touch screens that they have just above their heads there are where they can monitor the active operations of the capsule itself. Nothing happening at this moment, but in flight, that will be an important piece of telemetry.
Right, and that was an important thing, that the SpaceX team, when developing the suits, had to really pay attention to, right? And we heard Chris mention that just a moment ago. Yep. The development was really important for understanding, they knew that was the way forward for piloting vehicles and for interacting with your vehicle, and so they baked that right into the design of the spacecraft.
Absolutely. Something that we are very proud of that the fact that Dragon is mostly autonomous, thanks to software. It, for the most part, flies itself. Of course, the crew is trained extensively on how to be a backup to that software, but for the most part, as you can see, there is no joystick to steer the rocket, thankfully. So yeah, everything is conducted there in terms of executing the mission there from those touch screens above their heads.
Right. Well, as we watch crew button up the rest of their movement, we'd like to take a bit of time now to talk about a keystone objective of the AX-1 mission, science and research. So to help us unpack the breadth of Axiom-managed payloads, joining us now is Christian Maender, Director of In-Space Manufacturing and Research at Axiom Space. Christian, welcome.
Hey, thanks. The sun is shining. It's great to be here.
Right, Christian. So thank you for joining us. Well, increasing the amount of research performed in low Earth orbit is a goal of Axiom's efforts with private astronaut missions like AX-1, and eventually our future Axiom station. So high level, can you share some information about all the research happening on AX-1 and Axiom's role to enable it all?
Sure. We are really fortunate to have a crew that is so dedicated to doing research on this mission. We have over 25 experiments that we're going to be doing during the flight on the ISS, and we have a number of projects that we're doing before and after the flight as well. The crew has prepared tremendously hard for this. Axiom works with the crew to put together these complements and ultimately get everything put together and packaged up for flight, and then ultimately we help the crew get trained and get on their way. They are going to be incredibly busy on orbit. They have very full timelines along the way here, and we're looking forward to seeing each mission day unfold.
Yeah, so are we on the ground. We know they've got a very busy week in front of them. And you mentioned how each crew member has their own portfolio. So let's talk a little bit about each crew member specifically. What can you tell us about Larry's efforts?
Well, Larry is really focused on some really key studies with the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic that focus on aging and brain health and heart health. And in particular, he's doing a couple projects on the ground that are looking at him as a human subject. And then in flight, he is also going to be doing some experiments with stem cells and with cells, two different kinds of cells, cardiac cells and with cells that are looking at aging. And in fact, he's working with a PI named James Kirkland at Mayo Clinic, who focuses on cellular aging, otherwise known as senescence. And so we've got a clip from Dr. Kirkland to tell you a little bit more.
My name's Jim Kirkland. I'm the Neuaber Foundation Professor of Aging Research at Mayo Clinic. I'm also President of the American Federation for Aging Research, and I'm principal investigator on something called the Translational Geroscience Network. I'm a geriatrician, endocrinologist, and internist, but also a PhD molecular biologist, and I'm interested in developing interventions that delay, prevent, or alleviate multiple diseases by going after fundamental aging processes. One of the things that we're working on is the cellular senescence program, and the other, my colleague Andrew Tur's fundamental aging mechanism. They're what we call the so-called pillars of aging, and they're joined together there in what we call a unitary hypothesis. And these fundamental aging processes appear to be root cause contributors to multiple conditions. So the idea is to find out, Anna's group are also taking up cells that we're providing with them that are what we call pre-senescent. These are human cells in culture. They're going to be tending the cells while they're up there and changing the medium on them. And we're asking whether those cells become senescent in space. So special culture containers had to be developed for this by Axiom, special incubators. And Larry, we've trained him and his colleagues in how to change the medium. They have to take up these needles. And when he comes back, we'll have parallel cells on the ground that we will compare to the cells that have been up in space. And the insights that we will get from the experiments he is planning to do, both allowing his own blood and other fluids to be analyzed, and also by looking after cells that are taken in space, could help a lot of people with a lot of conditions that go far beyond space travel to everything from childhood cancer survivors through to Alzheimer's disease.
Well, excellent. So essentially, Dr. Kirkland and Terzic are really looking at how microgravity can reveal new mechanisms in cellular aging and cardiac health. And the hope is that what we learn from space is ultimately we can translate to solving age-related conditions on Earth.
Really cool to see that. I just want to note real quick about 2 minutes ago while that package was running, we did hear from on the nets that we did get the green light to proceed to hatch closure.
Awesome.
So really good news there. Christian, back to you. What can you tell us about mission specialist Mark Pathy's research portfolio?
Well, Mark has got a mission focused around caring for people on the planet, and so he's working with 6 different universities and their researchers in the Canadian area, and then he also is working with 2 startup companies for some technology demonstrations, and he's also working with some institutions in Canada to do some Earth observation work. One of the studies that he's particularly focusing on is about pain sensation in space, and he's working with
also from the MD Anderson Hospital Cancer Center in Houston. This project also involved transfer of technology from the University of Pennsylvania. Our team includes experts in pain sensation, in the genetic mechanism of pain, bone pain, in intervertebral disc degeneration, and in musculoskeletal spine imaging and rehabilitation. The novelty of our project is that we are trying to answer several questions from different perspectives and different angles in a single study, but in reality, we are conducting 6 studies in one. We are not looking just for the abnormalities in people who have pain, but we want to understand why some people get better after an acute insult, like microgravity. That happens every day in Earth. We plan to incorporate that information collected from astronauts into animal models, which may lead to application in humans, and eventually in different ways to treat them. Our hope is that information we collect will advance on research on help people here on Earth. I would say that Mark Pathy and his colleagues are giving us their time before, during, and after the flight. This will create new models of analysis for helping people in pain here, every day. I'm very grateful for their commitment and generosity.
As Dr. Indelmo talks about, this is some really novel research, this complex package of work that he's really setting out to understand more about the dynamics of short-term spaceflight and pain sensation in space. And the hope is, again, the things that we learn in space will play their way back into ground interventions that we can do that help people with pain on Earth.
Yeah, Christian, I think, the main takeaway for me is showing, research like that really highlights the direct impacts that we can get from research done on orbit. It's not all indirect. But, moving on to rounding out the mission, right? We know that Eitan has a significant amount of work in front of him. So what can you tell us more about Eitan's time on orbit?
Well, Eitan has put together an impressive complement along with he has worked carefully and closely with the Ramon Foundation in Israel and the Israeli Space Agency. The focus of his mission, they've named their mission Rakia, which really loosely translates to sky or firmament. But it's really a package of research that spans
My name is Inbal Kreis. As the head of Innovation, System, Missile and Space Division at Israel Aerospace Industries, I led the scientific and technological program of the Rakia mission. The Rakia mission will allow Israeli scientists, entrepreneurs and students to test their experiment in the unique space environment. All the experiments in Rakia mission led by Eitan Stibe are innovative and were chosen by a scientific committee based on their impact potential. 35 experiments arise from diverse fields of studies such as astrophysics, optics, radiation, communication, energy, agriculture, neurology, plasma technology, disease research, new therapies development, and many more. For example, in optics, The Fluid Lenses Experiment, a joint project of the Technion and NASA, aims to enable for the first time the creation of optical components in space. In neurology, we are testing how we can take advantage of the conditions of microgravity to improve drug delivery to the human brain. An experiment of device to protect space systems from cosmic radiation. This technology will enable the use of commercial electronics in space environment. Testing recycling in space, the effect of microgravity on the rate of decay of plastic by bacteria. In agriculture, growing specific seeds in space as superfood and also for water purification, making the impossible possible. This is what makes Israel a startup nation, Israel the innovation nation. AX-1 and Rakia mission are positioning Israel as a leading technological player in the global space community. I look forward to exciting scientific and technological results. Good luck.
Well, the whole country of Israel is really excited about Eitan's mission, and I think for me what's most compelling about the Rakia mission is how it really is going to act as a catalyst for the innovation in country to really take advantage of new opportunities in space for both profit and discovery. And so we're really excited to move forward with this mission, and we're gonna really knock out a lot of science with Eitan.
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's incredible to think that so many of these new studies are being given time on station because of the efforts of this crew and Axiom Space. But beyond the specific studies we've just highlighted, you know, there are several others that Axiom has been managing and will manage. Can you share with us a little bit more about these?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We at Axiom are also using this flight to really further research and technology development that we think either plays a role in developing new in-space manufacturing applications or research applications in the future, and also maybe technologies that will help build future spacecraft. So we have a project where we're looking at stem cells to understand more about precancer and cancerous changes in tumors. We have research that we're doing on the crew with partners in Houston to understand more about what it means to keep a more diverse population healthy in space. We're flying some really cool technology that is autonomous and self-assembly of different panels in space that will ultimately play a role in building new spacecraft autonomously in orbit. And we're even flying a new technology that uses light to remove odors from the cabin, and probably super important on a mission like this where you're going to have 11 people on board for 10 days together. So a lot of different things that we're breaking out, and more that I can't even talk about here, but a lot that we're adding to the cruise mission that we have on orbit.
Well, Christian, that's great to hear. Thank you for walking us through the scope of AX-1's research objectives. We're obviously going to be staying very, very well aware of these over the next few days. So, you know, this crew's really setting the bar high and adding all the volume of science that's being conducted on board.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
So as you can see there on your screen, the side hatch has been closed. The crew is now in the capsule. The door has been shut, so the closeout team did those final checks with the crew to make sure that they're ready to go to space today. So they closed the side hatch. They performed a leak check where they basically inflate a seal around the side hatch and hold it at a certain pressure for a certain amount of time and make sure that the seal is good. So that side hatch has been closed. The closeout crew and the suit technicians are still on the exterior, as you can see there on the left-hand side of your screen. And they are preparing to finish things up, and then we'll be stepping into comms.
Let's get to space.
Yeah, watching that seat rotation is always an exciting moment for me because you can see expressions change. You can see body language change because that seat rotation back into the launch position for the crew is the final physical movement that they have prior to liftoff. And as I've said a couple of times already, everything is extremely well choreographed. Every step of the procedure is documented down to details like, you know, make sure there's a Sharpie in the white room prior to crew's arrival to make sure that they can add their name to the wall of signatures that you see there. So everything is very well documented, and that's what the crew is tracking there on those tablets, our e-procedures, electronic procedures. Right now, we're about 2 minutes into the 5-minute wait for that leak check. So, like I said, we inflate the seal around the side hatch and hold it at a pressure for 5 minutes and monitor that data to make sure that it holds that pressure for the 5 minutes. After this leak check completes, we will step into comm checks with the crew, and that's basically a, how do I want to phrase this, a roundabout with the crew and all the ground systems to make sure that communication lines are loud and clear for the crew.
Right, and followed by that, it's just marching down towards T0, right? We have, launch escape system checks being armed after that. Closeout team will depart, and the crew arm retracts, and we just keep working our way towards launch.
Yeah, yep. Which now just about 1 hour and 15 minutes away. So once the leak check for the side hatch completes and the closeout team departs the white room and ultimately the tower, it's a lot of waiting for the crew. Yeah. So it's a lot of excitement. Oh, the seats are rotating. Yeah. It's happening. And then it's wait.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, and while we're waiting for those checks, let's take a little closer look at the crew again today. So serving as commander for this mission is Michael Lopez Alegria, or MLA, as you've heard some of us call him. He's a veteran of 3 space shuttle flights, 1 Soyuz flight, and numerous spacewalks.
For side hatch leak check. All right, MLA, they were seeing some leak rate trending in the wrong direction, so we're going to reopen the side hatch temporarily, try and clean off that seal, and then re-close the side hatch to re-perform the side hatch leak check. I'll copy. Okay, Arthur, we'll copy and understand.
All right, so that was just a note from SpaceX core Arthur Burial to the crew to let them know that we're going to reopen the side hatch. It sounds like that, as I mentioned before, we inflate the seal around the side hatch and hold it at a pressure. Sounds like we saw just a little bit of pressure loss there in that leak check, so we're going to reopen it and wipe down everything along that seal to see if we can get that to close up properly.
All right. Right, and as Kate mentioned, we heard that conversation between Core and MLA. So, taking a closer look at MLA here while we wait for those leak checks, this will be his 3rd trip to the International Space Station. His last one was Expedition 14, where he also served as mission commander. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the commander of AX-1, Michael Lopez Alegria.
Michael, I want to know what the first time the feeling was when you got outside of the space shuttle. What was that feeling like?
Most astronauts that have been to space will talk about the overview effect. Basically, it's a change in perspective. These experiences are really unique. So I'm trying not to set expectations for the crew because I really want them to have their own interpretation of what it's like.
American spaceflight record set by former NASA astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria. 215 days in space, 213 of which were on the International Space Station.
In 2004, I was assigned to fly a long-duration mission to the ISS. My 2 crewmates on the Soyuz would be a cosmonaut and then a spaceflight participant. And I wasn't too keen with that idea. And the few weeks that I spent training with her and the 10 or so days I spent on orbit with her completely changed my view. It has been a complete 180-degree change of direction, and I went from refusing the Kool-Aid to pouring the Kool-Aid.
The thing about LA that's special is his patience and his skill, competence, his trustworthiness. He's well suited to be a commander of any space mission.
AX-1 is the first private mission to the International Space Station. We are setting the standard for all future human spaceflight to the ISS, and we take that obligation very, very seriously. Our guys have been training for months, and they're trying to get a lot done, especially when it comes to scientific experiments and outreach. But I want them to really enjoy the experience, and I want them to come home with a big smile on their face. SpaceX training, it's like being a kid in a candy store. A new vehicle, love the human interface with it. It's a really exciting and inspiring place.
I mean, he's feeling nostalgia already. Just by going through the training process and being back in the business of preparing for a space flight is something I know he's enjoying thoroughly.
I've been involved with Axiom, which started out literally as a handful of people in 2016 to where it is today. I really tip my cap to all of the people here at Axiom.
Hey, boss, don't screw up.
I'm Michael Lopez Alegria, and I'm the commander of AX-1.
Larry Connor is Axiom 1's pilot. Larry's experience in piloting over 16 types of aircraft and multiple deep ocean dives sets him well for this role aboard AX-1. While on board, Larry will conduct numerous experiments in conjunction with the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic. Here's a closer look at Larry Connor.
Well, Larry, I always start with the big, broad question. Why?
Well, it's a big opportunity and a big challenge.
And you're no stranger to extreme activities, right?
Well, I don't classify them as extreme activities. I understand other people would.
Larry is an entrepreneur and nonprofit activist investor. Larry Connor will be the pilot for that mission.
Pilot is the person who is there to be equally technically proficient as the commander and back them up.
My pilot, Larry Connor, American businessman, he comes across as a no-nonsense guy. The words I would use to describe him are focused, organized, driven, and he's a real team player.
I was really clear at Axiom right from the beginning. I didn't want to be a space tourist. I didn't want to go up there and sit. This was an opportunity not only to do exploring, but hopefully make a difference.
Well, Larry and the other astronauts are doing a couple of sets of studies, the one with respect to heart function, the other with respect to these fundamental aging processes, and the insights that we will get could help a lot of people with a lot of conditions, from childhood cancer survivors through to Alzheimer's disease. One of the things that Larry has been doing is he's been incredibly generous with helping support clinical trials, determining once and for all whether some of these interventions work.
Our goal and our hope is to try to help revolutionize how we think about and how we serve and how we help people.
He wants to do a good job. He's putting in the efforts to support his crewmates and just, make an example of what private spaceflight could be.
I just wish the world were filled with people like him. He's generous and thoughtful, and I just can't think of enough positive things to say about him.
You have to recognize all of the people up and down the line. They've simply been exceptional. We've got a really talented, committed, resilient group of individuals. Amazing things really are possible. I am Larry Connor, and I'm the pilot on AX-1.
Now coming to Eitan Stiba. Serving as mission specialist, Eitan has a significant mission ahead of him in terms of objectives, as we talked with Christian earlier about. Working with the Ramon Foundation and the Israel Space Agency at the Ministry of Science and Technology, Eitan will be focusing on everything from genetic diagnostics to arts and science outreach. Here's a closer look at Eitan's story.
Tell me, what was your first spark to want to fly?
That's an interesting question. As a kid, I would close my eyes and dream that I was flying like Superman that I saw on TV. Actually, I went to sleep every night in this position. F-16 is a beautiful aircraft. It gives the pilot a feeling of freedom in the 3 dimension. You just look at somewhere and pull the stick and the aircraft performs what you wish.
He has this inner drive. You see it shine or spark when he's exposed to new cultures. My dad has been, in the last decade, his heart has been into impact investments to create infrastructure and to help communities.
The Rakia mission was built in the same manner to draw on the curiosity associated with human space travel. to conduct a wide range of experiments, educational studies, and even artistic activities. ראינו שחקר החלל מגרה את כל החושים, מעורר סקרנות, אפילו מאתגר את הדמיון הפרוע ביותר.
Rakia patch. It has Rakia written on it in English, Hebrew, and Arabic, and one dot up above for the memory of Elon Ramon.
Even though Israel is a technological country, space is something that ignites curiosity. It's unreachable, it's far away. One of my objectives in the mission is to change the sentiment in Israel about human spaceflight, to inspire children to look up to the sky and imagine things that are not possible and try to reach them.
Engines full power. Lift off.
The thrust of Falcon 9 is like 2 squadrons of F-16s in full afterburner. That power is incredible. I sat inside the simulator of the Dragon, looked up and imagined how that would feel.
I think it's gonna be the most beautiful thing in the world, seeing this literally take off and seeing all the ideas and all the effort that has been done come to life is gonna be beautiful.
There is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I'm happy that so many Israeli entities and people can join this effort. My name is Eitan Stibbe. I'm a mission specialist on AX-1.
Mark Pathy is one of AX-1's mission specialists, a longtime philanthropist.
To get to that moment where I'm sitting in the seat, buckled in, and that countdown's beginning.
3, 2, 1.
I imagine what it's going to feel like physically in terms of lifting off from the surface of the Earth. It's hard for it to always seem completely real. Then a whole other chapter opens and a whole other adventure begins.
I'm very excited to start my training. Been waiting for a long time. The anticipation's been killing me. Now here we are today. I'm ready.
As a proud Canadian, it was important to me to really highlight Canadian universities and Canadian research institutions and to give opportunities to those researchers and those organizations that they might not otherwise have.
Mark was entirely committed to developing this mission as a scientific mission, and the theme of the mission was caring for the planet, caring for its people. We're going to be testing new technologies that can help us explore space, staying longer and going farther, but more importantly, can help change our lives here on Earth.
There'll be a lot of physical and psychological studies that I'll be participating in up there. A lot of the research that I'm undertaking involves using me as a lab rat, because that's the best way I can contribute. A lot of what one experiences in space in terms of inflammation, in terms of pain, psychological feelings of isolation, those are things that affect sick kids. To me, I would like to think that I'll leave this world a better place than I found it.
The crew is setting a high standard for private astronauts in the future because they're dedicated to science, they're dedicated to the mission, they're able to learn all these objectives, they are building in educational outreach. It's really exciting watching this come together.
I'm very excited to work with you to complete your science experiments and your educational outreach when you get on board ISS. We know you guys are prepared and we'll be supporting you here from Mission Control in Houston.
There's a lot of people, some that I know and many that I don't, that deserve my appreciation and thanks and gratitude for getting me here. I'm Mark Pathy, and I'm a mission specialist on AX-1.
We're currently T-minus 1 hour, 36 minutes, 27 seconds. As the Axiom 1 crew awaits its 11:17:12 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time liftoff from Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Now currently, as you see a little bit on the left there, the crew is inside the Dragon capsule. We closed the side hatch a little bit earlier. We began the 5-minute leak check. We stopped that. They saw a little bit of a leak, and they reopened the hatch starting about 12 minutes ago. You can see they're getting ready to close the hatch again. They cleaned the seal off. Nothing significant noted, but give it a good wipe. We're closing up, and then we'll try to repeat the leak check here very shortly. Once we get through that, we're also waiting to hear the crew perform communications checks with the Falcon ground team. That'll be a checkout with some of the responsible engineers who you'll also hear during the ascent calling out status, propulsion engineer, avionics engineer, guidance, nav, and control, as well as chief engineer. Earlier, we did have the communications checks with the Dragon team. We heard that going through a variety of routes. That would be the umbilical, the radio frequency transmitters, and of course the NASA TDRS satellite up in geosynchronous orbit. So currently the weather, when we get a view of the pad, the weather continues to be go for launch, as well as any contingencies. For example, if a launch escape was required during ascent, weather conditions in the Atlantic Ocean off of the eastern seaboard of the U.S. as we head northeast towards the space station, those conditions are go. The upper altitude winds for Falcon 9 as we steer through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, those also look good right now. And of course, contingency splashdown locations that we would use in case the crew had to come back down out of orbit, they're also looking good. Now coming up in about 35 minutes, that's when things start to get active on Falcon 9. We'll begin the fuel bleed in on the Merlin engines, let a little bit of propellant onto the vehicle, bleed it through the engines. That's getting them ready for the ignition sequence inside of T-minus 2 seconds. And of course, as we said, the Dragon team, the advanced team that's on the pad, they have to repeat the side hatch leak check. Good news is we've still got time in the schedule, and we have seen this before if you've been with us on one of the crew missions. We also had a leak where we had to reopen the hatch, clean the seal, close it up, and then it passed. But that advanced team, once we get through that and we finish putting on the last covers for flight, deflate some of the seals, and get ready to get out of the pad, they'll leave the pad area and the crew access arm at T-minus 1 hours. Also, a little bit earlier, we did a launch escape system checkout on Dragon. That came at about T-minus 1 hour and 52 minutes. That's mostly just checking all the telemetry of the systems that are required in the launch escape safety system. Everything checked out well, and that's a standard part of the launch countdown. It's critical to make sure that everything is in working order.
We are closing the side hatch again, and we'll step into the next round of side hatch leak checks. Copy on SpaceX.
And we've heard the call out. You can see the advanced team. They're closing the hatch. Looks like they're torquing up to the required load. We then begin a pressurization sequence for a few minutes, and then we hold it for 5 minutes. And then, fingers crossed, we'll get a successful leak check. We'll get into communications checkouts and proceed on to the T-minus 1 hour and countdown to an on-time launch. But right now, Kate, John, everything continues to look good out of pad 39A.
We have to recommence the health checks for the launch escape system with the second hatch closure. Expect a momentary flight computer state change.
And one other update, you just heard the launch escape health checks. Those are the ones I said that we did about 20 minutes ago. You do them as you close the hatch. Now that we open it up, we close it again. They'll repeat that checkout. That just takes a minute to verify all the telemetry on the launch escape systems are still within specification. So everything continuing to go well at 39A other than you working through a second hatch leak check. Fingers crossed that we'll see an on-time launch at 11:17:12 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time.
So as John and I said, we have we're now in the process of redoing the side hatch closure and leak check. So the team saw a little bit of loss of pressurization whenever we were conducting that leak check. Not a huge deal, just reopen it. They wiped down the seal itself, didn't really know anything significant. So now they have reclosed it. And we're now reperforming that leak check. The crew remains seated and comfortable there on the right-hand side of your screen inside Dragon Endeavour.
Yeah. Well, as we wait for that, I wanted to talk about a bit, like, a major objective of this mission is outreach and, getting more people interested in spaceflight, but more importantly, finding ways to connect us together. And some of the best ways to do that are through art and shared experiences with art. So for this mission, we asked artist Michael Kagan, known for his space-themed artwork, to create an exclusive new piece that commemorates the AX-1 mission. And he created the spacewalker that you see on your screen there. So this digital asset can be enjoyed as an augmented reality spacewalker that anyone can check out and play with. And here's how it works. I got to play with this a little bit yesterday. It's pretty cool. But we'll have a QR code for everyone at home to scan with your phone, and the spacewalker will become an AR model on your phone that you can play with. You can adjust the scale and position it as you want, rather, and then snap a photo with it wherever that spacewalker is. It's actually pretty fun. I got to kind of play around with them. We walked around here a little bit and popped the spacewalker over there and took a photo of it. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so at home, we'd love to see what you can do with it. So be sure to tag any posts with the hashtag AX1. That is AX and the number 1.
Yeah, I personally, I'm not really into NFTs, but that is beautiful. This might be what gets me in.
Yeah. So as you said, that's not it, right? We're taking this one step further with the goal of encouraging people all over the world to have some fun with this mission. We are announcing that the AX-1 crew is going to mint the spacewalker as an NFT from space. So for all of those NFT collectors out there, the Axiom NFT Marketplace is launching right now. And over the course of this mission, it will feature digital artwork, just like Michael Kagan's spacewalker there, associated with this historic mission. So if you'd like to join, the website is nft.axiomspace.com, and it is going live right now. So we'll be announcing the live auction for the Spacewalker NFT during the mission. So be sure to visit nft.axiomspace.com for more info over the coming days. And that's where you're going to find the QR code to the augmented reality Spacewalker. So again, head to nft.axiomspace.com, scan the QR code, go have some fun, play with the Spacewalker, put them wherever you want, and have a blast with them.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So just a quick check-in. You can see there Falcon 9 remains on the pad. We are continuing to count down to our liftoff at just under 1 hour and 30 minutes from now. As you can see on the right-hand side, the crew are in their seats, and the team on the left is conducting the leak check of that side hatch. For those of you that have just joined us recently, we did attempt to close the side hatch earlier, closed it, but when we performed that leak check initially, saw a very small loss of pressure there. So we reopened it, and then the teams wiped down the seal, inspected it. Didn't really know anything major, so closed it back up, and we're now performing that leak check once again. The process for that is basically we inflate the seal that is around the side hatch, and we leave it inflated for 5 minutes. We monitor that pressurization, and once it holds that pressure for 5 minutes, we get the green light.
Yeah, and as John and I mentioned earlier too, it's not uncommon for things like this to happen, and that's why we have checks in place, and we have things like verifying end items, and it's a huge part of what the ground control team here plays is, verifying that those leak rates, like what you talked about. Are you holding a leak rate for the right amount of time and at the right pressure, and what does your trending data look like? So, it's all part of the huge network of teammates on the ground that are supporting the mission and just making sure that every step along the way is safe. And
Dragon SpaceX for post-ingress briefing.
Go ahead, Arthur.
All right, MLA. While we continue through the side hatch leak check, it continues to look like a great day to fly. Dragon, Falcon, and 39 Alpha all look good to fly. Systems are nominal, and we have no deltas to the pre-briefed emergency deorbit sites.
That's about as good as a report we can ask for, thanks.
I concur with that. And for awareness, we will be stepping into Falcon 9 operator comm check shortly.
All right, that voice that you just heard was Arthur Berrialt, our SpaceX core, who basically is the primary.
With you at this point. Go ahead, GNC.
Dragon GNC on countdown 1, comm check.
You're loud and clear, Cyrus, humming.
GNC loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by propulsion engineer.
Dragon, prop on countdown 1, comm check.
Prop, Endeavor, you're loud and clear, Charles.
Prop, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check with the avionics engineer.
Dragon, avionics on countdown 1, comm check.
Avionics, Endeavor, good morning, call.
Avionics, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the ground segment engineer.
Dragon, ground segment on countdown 1, comm check.
Loud and clear, Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, ground segment has you loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by launch control.
Dragon, launch control on countdown 1, comm check.
Launch control, Endeavor, you're loud and clear.
Launch control, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the chief engineer.
Dragon, comm check from chief engineer.
Good morning, Chief Engineer. This is Endeavor, you're loud and clear.
This completes the Falcon 9 responsible engineering comm checks. Godspeed.
Thank you.
All right, there you just heard the completion of the comm checks. Basically, the ground teams, the various leads for the ground systems here, going around and making sure that the communication pathway to the crew is clear, loud and clear, as you heard them say. Voices that we heard there included SpaceX Corps Arthur Berrialt, the chief engineer for this mission, Bill Gerstenmayer, and yeah, just around the horn for those comm checks with the crew. On the left-hand side of your screen, just a quick check-in. The team there is performing the recheck, the recheck for that side hatch closure. So we did attempt to close the side hatch and perform a leak check, and we saw just a very slight loss of pressure during that leak check, so we opened it back up, wiped it down. Teams didn't know anything major when they inspected it, so now we've reclosed it, and we are reperforming that leak check, which includes basically getting it up to pressurization or pressure 3 minutes, and then holding it at that pressure for 5 minutes. So right now we're in that 5-minute wait period. So, as you can tell for the crew, it's a lot of waiting. It's we do this and now we wait, and now we do this and then we wait.
Hurry up and wait, as they say. Yeah, and Kate, as you mentioned, and as we heard, on the concurrently while we're doing that repress and recheck, we're also trying to concurrently perform those comm checks, right, and gain some time back as well. So crew, as they're in their vehicle waiting, they're still on track for their mission, right? They're still zeroed in on exactly what they've got to do, exactly how they can provide assistance in providing and following their procedures and working with the ground teams to stay on track
For sure, and it's worth noting, we do build margin into the timeline for this exact reason. If you followed our human spaceflight missions before, sometimes you hear the Corps indicate that we have X amount of minutes of margin. So yeah, for this exact reason, we do build in that margin. And as I said earlier, the countdown itself is what aligns all the various teams working to support the launch on the same timeline. So it's what makes sure that everybody syncs up. And so allowing us to, perform those comm checks while doing the repress and recheck, just making sure that all those teams are continuing to remain aligned.
Yeah. I think during this waiting period too. Crew is sitting there thinking about not only what do I have to do today, right now, but like I'm waking up and I'm getting my suit checked out. There's steps all along the way, and I can only imagine what that means to them. That all plays a part of this mission. What kind of keeps them going through these waiting periods? Thinking about what am I going to do up there? What does this mean to me? What does it mean to the people back home? And they're just ready to get up there and start working towards those objectives.
So we're continuing to monitor the recheck of that side hatch closure. The team is performing that leak check now. Should be wrapping that up pretty soon. Once we get the leak check confirmed.
Dragon SpaceX, good side hatch leak check.
Good news, Arthur. Thanks.
All right, great news there. You might have heard some clapping here.
Yeah.
I should mention, we're John and I here located at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I actually hear some beeping now. We are a live operations environment here in the rocket factory.
Yep.
So we're 1 hour and 18, just over 1 hour and 18 minutes until launch, and we're starting to see people gather and really, the excitement is starting to build, and just hearing the confirmation that leak check was good, that side hatch is going to stay closed. The crew is, I think at that moment, as I mentioned before, the seat rotation, that's an exciting moment because it's like you're locked into the roller coaster and, here we go. And now hearing that side hatch is good, it's closed, and it's going to remain closed until they splash back down. So when the crew ingresses and egresses from the space station, they will use the forward hatch. So that side hatch now will remain closed until they return to Earth after splashdown.
Right, that's a huge step forward in today's launch. So, in addition to the scope of the science and research and outreach being performed on this mission, AX-1 is also taking some time to better understand the role that food plays on orbit. A partner on this mission and a good friend of Axiom Space is Chef Jose Andres and the team at Think Food Group. Known for his visionary culinary creations and humanitarian efforts, Chef Jose's World Central Kitchen is doing important work helping to feed those who are displaced.
Chef Jose also prepared the meals and snacks accompanying our crew to the ISS. In space, astronauts have limited kitchen equipment and ingredients on hand, so having already prepared meals that are both appetizing and comforting is a great way to feel connected to home.
Right, so joining us now is Chef Charisse Gray, who you saw in that video, Director for Research and Development at Think Food Group. Chef, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chef, clearly Think Food Group is doing instrumental work in bringing people together with food, and has for a long time. What has been your team's mantra or ethos when it comes to creating these new dishes?
Well, I think Food Group, our mission is to change the world through the power of food. And that's why we're so incredibly proud to partner with Axiom Space to have created the meals for the AX-1 Mountain National crew headed to the International Space Station. As Chef Jose Andres often talks about building longer tables, this is such an extraordinary opportunity to do just that, bringing together the hardworking AX-1 crew through food, reaching all the way to space.
So, as a partner on AX-1, the culinary teams at Think Food Group have developed a meal to be shared amongst the crew in space on the space station. What did you put together?
So, partner on the food mission was born on a friendship between Chef Jose and fellow Spaniard and veteran astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria, the commander of the upcoming mission. And as a result, we really wanted to lean on the flavors and traditional dishes of their native Spain. So we've made secreto de cerdo with pisto, which is a prized cut of Iberico pork with tomatoes, onions, eggplant, and peppers. And the second meal is chicken and mushroom paella. Paella is, Spain's quintessential rice dish, and the AX-1 crew will be able to enjoy also along with that some Spanish jamon, salchichon, and Marcona almonds.
Super cool. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the significance of those choices?
You know, we wanted to be sure that we created meals that were not only nutrient-rich, but satisfying and really delicious. Unlike, traditional ready-to-eat meals that are designed for quick consumption. As chefs, we understand the importance of really, bold and memorable flavors and created food that you'd really want to eat anywhere in the world, or in this case, out of this world.
Exactly right. So what were some of the challenges that you faced in trying to prepare those meals for Out of This World?
To make meals that are going to be traveling, for over 250 miles away and, putting in the forefront really crew member safety, they had to be very carefully prepared. And so the AX1 crew meals were thermostabilized through the retort process.
Now, your teams also put together a set of snacks that the crew is taking with them to enjoy at various points on their journey to the ISS. We were fortunate enough to receive a few of those extra packets, and we'd love to share a snack together with you. What do we have here?
So you're holding one of the pouches of the actual meals. Let me see what you've got there. It looks like you might have got the pisto or the rice.
I think I have the Valencia rice with chicken.
Yes.
And I just spilled it everywhere.
There's the pisto there.
Wow, just immediately the aroma just it's strong. It's in a very good way.
Yeah.
It's my mouth is already watering.
Well, and that's
John, what do you have?
Yeah, so I've got the pork stew, and I've got to say the same. The aroma, I think, is really what I would appreciate if I was on orbit and opening this up for the first time. Right? We've heard so much, especially on the crew system side at Axiom, how much aroma plays into, just enjoying your meal, and that can go away during your time on orbit. So I think it's a really important aspect to consider when you're preparing meals.
But also, snacks are super important. So, along with those meals, the AX-1 astronauts will also be able to enjoy some really Spanish delicacies such as jamón ibérico de bellota, jamón salchichón from Fermin, Casas de Juelo olive oil, and Marcona almonds by Albert Adria.
This is way better than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, I've got to say, this is amazing, Chef Charisse.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for putting this together, and thank you for letting us enjoy it. I was talking earlier about the importance that aroma plays, right, and being able to enjoy your meal. And we've often heard crew members reflect on how there's really just no better way to see a world without borders up there than just simply looking out the window while in orbit and enjoying some time together. So, something as simple as sharing a meal, right, together, but while looking back at home can really be a pivotal step in coming to that realization together. So thank you very much for putting this together for our crew. Thank you for working with them. And thank you for joining us today and letting us enjoy this together. So we wish you and the Think Food Group as much success as possible, and we look forward to hearing how it turns out on orbit.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing us to be part of such a momentous day.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That was awesome.
Yeah. Well,
after you.
I was going to say, at Axiom, we are hard at work building the next destination in low Earth orbit, and Axiom Station is being designed as a true continuation and evolution of the International Space Station. So much gained over the last 20-plus years in orbit. Axiom's goal is to build upon the successes and lessons learned over that time while bridging the gap between the ISS and commercial spaceflight. Ultimately, allowing greater access to that knowledge and capability ensures that humans continue to benefit from time spent in low Earth orbit. Axiom's first private astronaut missions are crucial steps in learning how the relationships between government and private industry can grow and change.
The International Space Station is really an amazing engineering achievement. In the last 21 years, there's been permanent human presence in space. We've slowly progressed from capsules and vehicles that visited for a short time to places like Skylab, where we ultimately did a 90-day mission back in the 70s. Now we're on ISS for a year or more. And now it's time for the next space station. Axiom Space is about being surrounded by objects that we can't live without that we're manufacturing in space.
Today we are in the process of building our first two elements. We have subsystems in development.
We have a full lab of life support hardware that we're putting through its paces. We are building a propulsion system. It's a lot of those details in developing a space station.
You know, the first 2 modules are being built by our partner Thales Alenia, and we're heading to what is called CDR, which is a critical design review. That really means that 90% of the design is done, and then you're ready to go to manufacturing. So HAB1 is that first module. It has 4 crew quarters, it has payload accommodations, and it has all of the systems required to keep crew healthy and alive. So the plan is we'll fly 4 separate modules to the ISS. When we arrive with the 4th module, it will have what we need to be independent of the ISS.
So a lot of thought went into how do we allow it to grow. When we look at the future, we have thoughts on how we could double the number of crew every 5 years.
There's a lot of excitement here about the AX-1 mission. Everyone understands that it's a very historic mission. We are just so excited to be part of that and having our people enable this historic moment.
The AX-1 mission provides us the opportunity to refine our flight techniques and operations concepts in order to meet the higher complexity of operating a space station in orbit. That moment where we're captured and birthed to the International Space Station will be a moment that defines how we move forward as a species in low Earth orbit. This will be really the first time a fully commercial element has been part of the complex.
Axiom Station is going to allow humanity to be a multi-planet species. When we pull that off, we change the world.
And speaking of growing and expanding opportunities in low Earth orbit, this Axiom mission adds to a story that began in 2003. In Israel, Eitan Stiba is not just becoming the second Israeli astronaut in the country's history, but he is following on the legacy of Ilan Ramon. For Israel, this is a mission of peace and hope, and they have called this mission Rakia, which is a word that means the heavens or firmament in English. So to tell us a little bit more about the Rakia mission, we send you now to our good friends in Tel Aviv, Israel, who are actively monitoring today's launch efforts.
Thank you, John and Kate, and thank you for joining us here at the Rakia headquarters in Tel Aviv. I'm Omri Doron, and together with me is the Israeli team of Rakia and its partners who have worked day and night to make this mission possible. Now, all joined together for this exciting launch of AX-1 to the International Space Station. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis are watching us from their homes. In Israel, we're at a very exciting moment. For the first time in 19 years, and for only the second time in our nation's history, one of our own will be in space again, Israeli astronaut Eitan Stiba. Eitan is dedicating his journey to the Rakia mission. And what that means is that his time in space will be devoted to fulfilling the innovative ideas and creative dreams that were chosen by the people of Israel for Rakia. Every part of this Rakia mission has been developed in Israel with the goal to be impactful and innovative. For an Israeli child, this will be the first time to hear Hebrew lessons and demonstrations on the ISS. For Israeli scientists, artists, and educators, this will be a rare opportunity to perform their works in the unique microgravity environment with a home-trained astronaut. This will contribute greatly to international and Israeli research industries. Now, during the next 10 days, thousands will visit this venue and get to know the story of Rakia and AX-1. Here, our Rakia Mission Control Center will provide a unique opportunity for visitors to see behind the scenes of human spaceflight throughout Eitan Stiba's Rakia mission. It is our hope that those who follow Eitan on his journey understand that the Rakia mission promotes professional collaborations and manifests values of peace, innovation, social responsibility, and sustainability. It strives to connect the people of Israel and the world to these values and inspire dreams of possibility, because no dream is beyond reach. Now, as we close from Tel Aviv, I'd like to present a short movie that will further highlight the significant efforts of the Rakia mission.
Just in case you find yourself leading an inspiring mission to space, here's a packing list that might help. You start with the basics. Ever-expanding dreams. Respect for orders mixed with utter disregard for them. Dozens of wishes. A poem. Your favorite soundtrack. Your biggest hopes. A hunger for miracles. Endless amounts of innovations, like brainwave measuring device, groundbreaking blood tests through capillaries, and laughing in the face of lenses manufacturing capabilities. A new outlook on storms. An entire platform that pushes science forward. Because there is no I in space. Dreams to be realized. Tips from friends who showed you the way. Two ounces of inspiration. Your inner child. Because the one thing that's more important than to travel light is to make sure travel enlightens an entire generation. Thousands of schools that joined the mission. Your nation's brightest young inquisitive minds. A sense of humor. A prayer, just in case. A few words of wisdom. 306,757 to be exact. And another 4 to be exact. Amazing partners, local and foreign. And a big thank you to those who made it possible. Or just a big